Hey folks, it's Babbaginator. This is The Long Dark, and we are currently hanging out in Desolation Point. Trying to figure out where we're going to rest. So, okay, so we made it to this mine. We have to cross through to the other side. We're heavy because we got 13 pieces of coal. And we're super tired. Search this already.
I'm not going to be able to carry this load for much longer.
Yeah, if you're new to this challenge, this is me, and this is the challenge. Doing something called Luck of the Draw, in which we, every time we enter a new region, we draw a card from a deck, and it tells us our situation. What the challenge is for the region.
This pack is getting too heavy to carry.
Okay, I'm not gonna need all of these, so let's try.
Too tired to think straight.
No, 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 no. So heavy.
I can't feel my hands. It's so cold. I just want to lay down for a bit.
Oh yeah, this is painful. We're so slow right now. So exhausted. We should make coffee.
I'll take it. barely walk with this much gear. Oh, so cold. I'm not going to be able to carry this load for much longer. Is getting too heavy to carry.
Okay, let's see here. Oh, stuff in cabin fever? Oh crap. That's a problem. Okay, I'm gonna take a short 5-minute break. I'll be back. Okay, we're back. And we've got a problem.
Well, this stuff will come in handy.
Oh, there's our bedroll. Yay.
Come on, little fire. Come on. That didn't work. Come on, little fire. Oh.
Hmm.
barely walk with this much gear. I think my stomach is eating itself.
Wait, one more hour.
Thank you.
Okay, we gotta search up here.
Perfect.
And gotta get out again. So we cured, and then we're at risk again. So we need to be outside. Nope, not useful. That's useful.
I'm not going to be able to carry this load for much longer. This pack is getting too heavy to carry.
I think we're after this. We're just after this.
Starting to feel numb. I can barely walk with this much gear.
Okay. Waiting room, so Fox, welcome back, and thanks for the sub. Who's on this?
I'm not going to be able to carry this load for much longer.
Am I doing okay? So far. For the practical ones, I am a little concerned I might be coming down with something. My roommate was sick for about a week and a half with some sort of nagging cough, which finally is that seems to be going away, only for me to start to... I woke up this morning with a little bit of a cough, and like, it sounds a lot like how it first started off.
My fingers.
Very mild, and then it became really bad. I was like, I don't like that. So thankfully, we're going into reading week. We have I have one class tomorrow, and then I have all of the rest of this week and next week off, at least with classes. So I'm just going to rest. Yeah. I'm usually pretty resilient. Usually I don't get sick from things, but yeah. I'm not congested. That's good. And I don't really have any congestion in my chest yet, so that's good. It's a little dry cough once in a while. Cabin fever. We just recovered from cabin fever. We don't want another round of it.
This pack is getting too heavy to carry.
Do a quick search through here. We still don't have a hacksaw, which is really frustrating. That means, much as we'd like to, we can't really do much. We're going to at least drop all our coal here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. More than enough to do a forge. Take these extras. Yeah, I'm like taking medication. This morning, as soon as I woke up, I was like, I'm feeling a tiny bit under the weather. I had a slight fever that went away. I was like, it sounds a lot like what happened to her. So I'm like, I am going to be safe. And I'm going to take the medication right away. And hopefully it's a speedy recovery if I do get sick. But I definitely need to be healthy by, not this weekend, but next weekend. Because next Friday I'm traveling to LA. Really can't afford to miss going to the opera rehearsal for the, or the, not rehearsal, but workshop for what we've been working on. We just found the bedroll earlier this stream, so we finally have the option to sleep out here. We don't need a fire. How does that happen? it's getting colder.
I'm not going to be able to carry this load for much longer.
This down first, then put this down. Well, thanks for hanging out. Yeah, it's
Come on, little fire.
ooh, I feel like it's been a busy week. I mean, it's just Tuesday. It feels like it's been a busy week.
Perfect.
Monday, I finally, Monday is my work day, so I was busy. Look at that. So I was busy with something I'm working on for work. So where'd our bedroll go?
This pack is getting too heavy to carry.
Yeah, this is troubleshooting something. I mean, this is stuff that really I had a little bit more formal training in using, like, how can I explain this? Part of work is solving other people's problems. Actually, it's most of what I work is solving other people's problems. So, someone's doing a project in public policy and social media and looking at, just like they have a sample set of scrape social media, like from Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, that type of stuff. Around a particular time period about with tweets that, or posts that were referencing a particular environmental, thing that was happening. Anyways, they wanted to know more about the frequency and which platforms posted most, and if there were certain spikes in terms of days. And so they gave me access to the data set, which was then extracted out into Panda's data frame. And I had to do some, and I'm certain there's more elegant solutions, but I had to find a way to, because all the things were in there with date timestamps, which is like more information than we needed. So actually all we wanted to just look at things that were on the same date. And so consolidate, like, if we're tallying like post counts or like counts for a particular day, we want to represent that by the day and not by individual timestamps. So yeah, I was like looking at, and I ended up coming up with probably more work for myself, where I kind of built an object-oriented solution as kind of a wrapper around it, and then had to figure out how to export things, like import things and export things out, so I could, like, I don't know. It was a lot more work that I needed to do, but in the end I got it to work, so that was the important part. Yeah, the wind is pretty strong right now, so let's see. Mic is up. Try that. So yeah. 2 hours. Hopefully that's a better balance. That's a nice draw.
I could eat anything.
Oh, the wind is dying down.
I'm not sure I can carry much more.
Let's go find some more firewood. We already researched this, right? Yeah, we already went through here. Wish we had a hacksaw, but we don't have a hacksaw.
I could eat a horse. Let's say in line, 'cause I can barely walk with this much gear.
Oh, we can watch the aurora out here. Lovely. You know, hopefully I get the sim back and working again. Is this a work?
Come on, little fire.
Research related sim that you're doing? Yeah. Okay, we can add a coal. What do we got to eat here? Yeah, where to go? We slapped together our inductance code. You needed, probably due to time constraints, now you have to clean up messes. So yeah, very helpful. Interesting.
Die if I don't get some food soon.
We're just trying to lower cabin fever risk and be productive here. Yeah, we love teasing the wolves and the bears. Like in the middle of roar, or even in the middle of a blizzard, we can camp up here, and like 99% of the time, the wind won't blow out the fire. This is my favorite spot. It's like such a great view of the little region and the lighthouse. Okay, let's see what we got. Dog food. Yeah, that is true. I mean, I really wish this one could be turned into a base in the same way, but okay, let's sleep for 3 hours here. We'll do for 3. That's even more amazing. Oops. Oh, and the Bleak Inlet boat there. Bleak. Yeah, I swear like at least 2 or 3 days trying to untangle the code I had written because I was tired when I was writing it. Um, so I'd written basically a record object and a catalog object to wrap around. So like what I wanted to be able to do was something you can't really do in data frames effectively. And so there were certain types of sorts and certain types of like extractions I wanted to do that didn't really work, at least as far as I understood how the data frames worked. So I needed to come up with a different structure to do it. So I had to convert it into basically a catalog, which was an array of records, and the records could move back and forth between being Python dictionaries or being like these objects, and that the catalog itself could also shift between being an array or being a or export itself as a data frame. So yeah, so that was kind of the yeah, I've learned this from when I used to work as a programmer in the games industry, is never code when you're very, very tired, because you will never figure out what your plan was. You were probably too tired to document it properly, and then you had to sort out what it was trying to do. And then especially if you're working with a library that you are less familiar with, so someone else's code that you know should work, but requires a different comprehension of what they were like. You need to understand what they were trying to do with that library. So, like, this type of data analysis is not the thing I've been doing so far. I've been doing more like natural language processing and regular expression work, and not so much like this more data analysis, statistical work. So, and visualization, like data visualization, is the other thing they've asked me to do, is export things as plot, like as graphs or charts, and so I had to work with Seaborn as well, which is fine. I mean, it's an easy library to work with, but I kept on, like, it took me like a couple days to realize the reason why I couldn't get the histograms to work was because I was trying to pass in the wrong data type. It's like, oh, the data needs to be in a different data form, and I'm giving it the wrong one. That's why it keeps throwing a fit. And then once I got to work, I realized there's just too many points in the data set. It just becomes unreadable if we use the histogram. So even though they like the bar graphs, it's not going to work. It have to be a line graph. Yeah. So yeah, they, the PIs on it, sent me to the principal, and for those listening in, the principal investigators, like basically the people that are the primary on the research study. They asked me about my status because I hadn't reported in last week because I was still resolving things, and I fixed it on Monday, but it was end of day, so I never sent them the email. So tomorrow I get to send them an email and say, like, hey, I got all the visualizations you asked for, at least the first set, done, and I've got the extracted more data that might be useful for you. And once I've got the proof of concept done with the small data set, I should be able to process the other data sets. And ooh, big glowing bear coming our way. 17, we're almost there. But, I mean, basically what you're looking at with that group is you've got one person who is good with the statistical analysis and with the write-ups, but isn't necessarily a programmer other than simple Python queries and things like that. And a second person who is in sociology who has much more experience working in Python. But this was kind of a weird sort of situation in how they wanted to extract the data and analyze it. So it went a little bit beyond just in a cookbook style Python, and you needed to really be able to think of a new solution, come up with a new approach. So I think they should be happy with it. I'm familiar with code repositories. I'm so old that the one that we used when I was working in the games industry was VSS, Virtual Source Safe. So I know the concept. I have used a little bit of Git and GitHub stuff, but I actually need to get into the practice. And this and a few other projects are like good sort of opportunities for me to get into that practice of using GitHub for checking code in and out. Terrifying. Yeah, we've got a different group project that is kind of a nightmare because to do it right, I really would have to convince the rest of the group members to get set up on GitHub. Are you actually gonna come up here? Hold on, folks. Yeah, we're doing a Twine game. An interactive fiction game, but it's a group project, so it's like... Oh... It's like I'm trying to decide if we just like assign days. It's like, or if we're just like doing, you know, so assign days, like you're working on it on Tuesdays, I'm working on it on Wednesdays. So-and-so's doing it on Thursdays. But the last group project I did that was multiple people working on one code project. I just took on the lead programmer role, and they would deliver to a separate folder, and then I would integrate it into, like, we modularized it all so that they were all separate files, and that would be tested. Is it running away because it's the end of the Aurora? Ran into the ocean. So I think I've actually lost track of how much water we've boiled here so far. I think we've already hit our quota, but I'm just going to mark that as 2, 3. I think we've done 3 now, at least, so just need to do another liter of water and it would be good. Yeah. But thankfully the Twine game is going to be not that code heavy. It's just branching narrative. And I told them we should back up our passages, like the text from our passages should go into a Google Doc so that we always have a backup of the original text. Oh, I see. We have another person to ban. Okay, disappeared that guy. Okay, we have officially hit our 4 liters of water. So in some sense we're done, but we haven't had a chance to forge, and that's mainly because we don't have a hacksaw, so we're not certain how much okay, so like we can take this and we can shred this, get some metal, but I am, yeah, concerned because we have not been able to, we still haven't found a decent pry bar. Hold on a second, I'm going to take a short break to check on something. I'll be back. Okay, I'm back. Yeah, my roommate just got back. So, checking in, see how their day went. Oh, so close to being done with this. But yeah, so I think our problem is we don't have enough scrap metal to do a forge. That's a problem. So even though we have the opportunity and the hammer, we don't have the hacksaw. And that unfortunately might mean that we have to go, I don't know why we can't find the hacksaw, but actually we don't need that one, do we? Guess we can go to the lighthouse, see what we can find there. But yeah, it's weirdly not a lot of metal scrap around. So yeah, we were talking last week, last Friday, team meeting, and I suggested that what we should do for our team is have a GitHub that we use for storing. We can't store the exact code that we've used to help different researchers on their projects, but we can store kind of a generalized version of how we solved a particular problem and save that to GitHub so that in the future we can go back and look at those solutions and use them, you know, to help someone else. Oh, hey, congrats. Oh, no worries. I stepped away for a second to chat with my roommate who just got back. I was just saying that, you know, I have an interesting problem with, not really problem, but sort of a, because the team I work on, we help other faculty and graduate researchers troubleshoot or find solutions for often code solutions or tech solutions for their research problems or their help them with their research methods. So that can often involve writing Python to solve things. Whether it's like cleaning a data set or it's bridge or adapting an API to serve a particular purpose, or extending functionality in a way that goes beyond how the original code that they were using was intended to be used. So we do those type of things, but since the research is, belongs to the researcher, we've been trying to find ways to abstract the solutions that we come up with so that we can we can store them in a GitHub repository for future reference. If we come across another problem that's similar, we can at least look there and say, hey, we already solved that. And we can adapt that code. So.
Wait. I'm so cold. I'm warming up a bit.
But yeah, congrats for getting it all working. Yeah. We are unfortunately at that stage of our team's life because ultimately we were a pilot project that ran for about 3 or 4 years. But we're like in year 3 of 4, I think it is. And, or maybe it's year 2 of 3. No, I think it's year 3 of 4. Anyways, we're at the tail end of it. We have to prove that we are useful and worthy of being extended. But the challenge with that is that when they wrote up things at the beginning, they anticipated that there'd be much more demand. But the problem was they didn't get the word out well enough. So research really, like faculty and graduate students, really didn't know of our existence until more recently. So we're only now getting requests for assistance that are like substantial and meaningful requests, and not just like, hey, I have a problem with my website. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so I think that's part of it. Is like they did invest a lot in having me, ultimately as an asset, right? It's like a resource, anticipating they'd use me more. And then like this past year, I've had long periods where I've been doing independent research because, developing my own sort of projects because there hasn't been enough work for me, or studying things on my own, which is great in terms of me becoming a more proficient and useful, member on the team. But at the administrative and budget level, it's like, what are we doing? Look. So we're paying him to sit around? It's like, no, he's not sitting around. He's actually like building skills that we need for the next project that is in the pipeline but not here yet.
Perfect.
But yeah, I explained it to my director. I said, well, in some sense, I feel like what happened is I got hired. The person that did the hiring for me basically treated me like a full-time permanent person in terms of how she framed what I was expected to do with my time. And sort of the leeway that I had with how to use my time. And in reality, my position is still ultimately a graduate student position and probably should have been defined in terms of specific tasks that I was supposed to be working on. But it wasn't, so. Well, we end up in that situation. Anyways, we have no cabin fever. We are still tired.
I think I can use this.
So many painkillers here. Yeah, so thankfully I am not the one that has to do those reports. That's my director. But I do have to provide her with enough information so that she can write those reports. and enough fodder, you know, basically to make our case compelling. So.
I'm not going to be able to carry this load for much longer.
Actually, I don't even know if I can benefit from Wilderness Kitchen anymore. We're at Cooking 3. I don't think we can. But yeah, unfortunately, we're at a particular time period. Particular period in I don't know. It's kind of a rough patch for universities and libraries in terms of having space in their budget for hiring new people. So I was told probably the best bet for me is if someone senior retires and there's money set aside already in the budget for that position. So if they hire someone junior like me, they're still saving money. And they can make that argument to the university that it's still worth hiring him. We're not paying as much as... Look at that. There's Mr. Moose way out there.
Looks like a new day is dawning.
Yeah, we'll see you in a bit. Okay, let's see what we got here.
I can barely walk with this much gear.
Okay. Ooh. Well, that's strong wind. Wait for the wind to die down a little bit. Maybe we'll fire.
I'm not going to be able to carry this load for much longer. Come on, little fire.
Okay, stuff we can cook.
This pack is getting too heavy to carry.
Okay. What do we got? No, this is not looking good either. What do we got over here? Fish?
I can barely walk with this much gear.
So we must have missed the hacksaw somewhere, because almost always there's a hacksaw in this region. Everybody. Gonna come back. Go away. Go away. Trouble. Close enough, right? Welcome to science. Close enough.
Did I say I hate being cold? Because I really do. I'm too cold to think.
Crackers. Oh, that's not good. Ooh.
Fire. Perfect. not going to be able to carry this load for much longer.
I really wish we had a hacksaw, but I don't know where it is.
I could eat a horse. This pack is getting too heavy to carry.
Okay, time to get out of here. And there it goes again. We should at least get back to Hibernia just to grab the stuff from the cache. And also, so we can do another sweep through Hibernia to see if we miss the hacksaw or a good quality pry bar. It's got to be, almost always there's a pry bar, and we didn't find one. So we clearly did not search thoroughly. And the hacksaw is almost always in Coastal Highway or Desolation Point, so I'm actually puzzled that I didn't see it. But we did get everywhere in Coastal Highway, and we haven't been everywhere in Desolation Point yet, so we've been a lot of places. But no hacksaw means we have no means of getting the saplings unless we can scrape together enough metal to make a hatchet. But that sounds most likely like a Thursday night challenge. Tonight we're just going to wrap up. Where are we at? Got about 15 minutes left.
I can barely walk with this much gear.
Okay. Okay, let's see if we missed it. Ooh. Oh, some more coal.
I'm not going to be able to carry this load for much longer.
Okay, what do we got here? Oh, the bear's going for a walk. No, no, no. That's not what we wanted. Okay, we're just going to try to make it back into Hibernia and search it one more time, top to bottom. Or bottom to top. See if we can find that hacksaw.
It's a goddamn freezing.
Okay.
This pack is getting too heavy to carry.
See if we can spot it this time. Hmm. Okay, so I'm not seeing the hacksaw anywhere. No, it's a sewing primer. Oh, man, there's just nothing here. We're out of luck. Okay, so we're gonna wrap up here. We are on day 224. Okay, let's see here.
I need a horse.
Oops. Okay, we can start another fire. Will be at 3. I don't know if this will help us at all. Maybe. Ooh. Ooh. Okay, we're at day 25. Okay, so day 25. Got like our second box of crackers. Yeah, so I think we're going to wrap up here. Pick up next time, continue our, see what our next plan is going to be.
I wonder if I can drop any of this gear.
Okay, so let's go and read something before we wrap up. One home. The drought. Maybe. Let's see what else we got here. Prodigal and hermit. Or do I just read something we haven't read for a long time or never? Thinking about poems we don't read very often and what would be good. Poems that we don't read very often. Where did I put my poetry books here? Oh, there they are. Underneath a stack of other stuff. Okay, we'll read this. This is from Babbage's Dream, my second book of poetry, published by Sundress Publication in 2017. And this is entitled Variable. This is inspired by programming terms, reinvented as lyric poetry. And I'll read this one. Variable can represent numeric values, characters, character strings, or memory addresses. We could be anyone else, to the ones above who have left while it was still day, their long cars gleaming like a fine press of fish in their new silvered skins. Here, in the dark, T might as well be M, who cranes his neck towards the unstarred sky. The two of them, swimmers, drowning in the same moment, a pair of jacaranda trees set suddenly aflame. We could be whatever leaps from our leaden arms now deep in someone else's unkempt lines of code, whatever resists the hand pressed to the board, the letters slippery in the late hours. If we stood by the windows staring out, we might see how the darkness lays itself down, gathered like the black stones in the planters that frame each exit of this floor. We might be any name, any number, any point along the line that extends full circle, as if each cubicle were a faint lotus glowing in the dark, awaiting the right call, the right push into light. So in this poem, and there's a few other poems that do this, I've referenced a number of the programmers that I used to work with, but I don't use their names. I just refer to them as single letters. This is partly a nod to Kafka. Kafka's novels, like The Castle and The Trial, in which a lot of the characters are just single letters, and it really emphasizes the ways in which the bureaucracies had rendered these individuals as no more than single letters. So that's part of it. Part of it is kind of a nod to old school programming back in the olden days. Often we use single letters as variable names just for the sake of economy, just keeping things really tightly written. These days we tend to have meaningful variable names so that people know what it is that they're looking at. But sometimes we still kind of default if we're doing something quick and dirty. So that's the T might as well be M. T in this case is Tom, and might as well be M was Matt. Tom was a ABD physics. He had joined the company when he was finishing off his PhD in physics. So he ended up never finishing his PhD and spending all his time working as a programmer, and specifically had helped out on like anything that required sort of physics engine sort of type of level of coding. So some of the game engine stuff was pretty much sprite manipulation, like very 2D-ish, and then there were some projects that ended up being more 3D and so required more planning and thinking about collisions and movements. But yeah, so there was Tom and Matt. Matt was this he was a great guy. Matt and Anthony. where the programmers met Anthony and I'm forgetting his name right now. It's on the tip of my tongue. I can't remember it. Anyway, so there was a handful of us that would all, I think Steve. Yeah, it was Steve. So like all of us kind of hung together because we were often on the same projects all the time. And yeah, so I often thought about how from the administrative management level, they often thought of us as replaceable, exchangeable, that they could replace us any day. In fact, they would sometimes tell us that. It's like, you should just buckle down and do the work, because we could replace you at any moment with someone who's younger, who comes straight out of college, who's ready to take this job from you. So that's not really a very motivating way to look at your employment. At least it doesn't bring a sense of teamwork. It just brings fear. Not good management. So there's that. And then I really feel this all the time whenever you inherit someone else's coding project, with our leaden arms now deep in someone else's unkempt lines of code. That's really every time you inherit a project that you look at it, it's what was going on? What were they trying to do? I wish they commented something, But yeah. And then that we ourselves could be anyone, could be anything, and then turn into something else by the end of the night. So do I have... Oh, hey Nuka, good to see you. Thanks. I do have, let's see, is there an audio version of these poems? We have not done an audio book, and that's something that I think, if/when I get a third manuscript done and find a publisher for it, it would probably be something I would negotiate with the publisher about, like doing an audio book. But if you do want to listen to me, it sounds so. There's a couple ways you can do this. One is so I did do 2 seasons of a podcast called The Lit Fantastic. And if you go to the website, you can find links to the individual podcast episodes. And they're all me interviewing other writers about their weirdest and most bizarre obsessions. Like unexpected obsessions, maybe not even writing related, just like things that they can't seem to let go of. And the first season, the interviews are about 20 minutes, 22 minutes long. And the second season, the interviews are 45 minutes long. There's 2 seasons worth. There's some really great interviews in there. I kind of want to go back and do more, but that was a particular time when I was in Portland area, and I was volunteering with the community radio station, and I ended up getting to know some producers / sound engineers that volunteered to take over the editing and the producing of the podcast. And so it was great. And then the second season actually had radio play. They asked me to do it as a radio show. So it was broadcast and archived. And the other thing that you can do if you want to hear me read more, let's see. I did this series during the pandemic, and I haven't really gotten back to it. If we can get you. Yeah. Let's see here. Share. Copy. So this is This is a series I did during the pandemic, and I made almost 400 of these episodes where I basically like 3 times a week, I recorded myself reading a poem, mostly someone else's poems, like other people's poems, and then sometimes my own poems. And sometimes there were classics, like classical, from more traditional things that you might have studied in a class somewhere, but then also there were a lot of contemporary poets that most people might not know unless you happen to also be a contemporary poet and read a lot of contemporary poetry. So, and they're just like really short, about 5 minutes each, and they're just me taking, one of these poems and trying to do my best to read it well, and give it a good, you know, try to occupy the poem and read it well without being melodramatic. So, like, I think one of my favorites in there is let's see. It's a little corny, but also one of my favorite things. I do a very weary sounding version, which tries to inhabit it starts off weary and then grows into, there's a little bit of acting involved with this. So this particular one is me doing a reading of Alfred Lord Tennyson's Ulysses, which is all about Ulysses at the end of his life. After all his adventures, he's on the throne, about ready to pass on the throne to his son, and he's kind of lamenting the fact that these twilight years of his life have been spent not on adventures, not on the wild seas, not doing all these other things. And so he kind of rallies some of his old friends together and says, I'm not going to die on the throne. Let's go out for one last adventure, and and so I love that poem. It's one of my favorite Tennyson poems, and it's also fun because it really feels dramatic. There's like a lot to inhabit. Oh, which sadly I feel more and more today. It's like some days, like if you're starting to feel under the weather, like I woke up this morning with a little bit of a cough, and I was like thinking, I just watched my roommate recover from this thing. Well, they're actually almost recovered from this thing. It was like, I do not want to get this. And I also felt like a little bit of fever and a little bit of muscle ache. And I was like, Thankfully, I have only one class tomorrow. And then I've got the rest of the week and all of next week off, like no classes. It's reading week, and I just have a few hours of work to put in. So I'm going to concentrate on resting and recovering so that by next Friday, so not this week, but next week's Friday, I can safely get on the plane and go to LA and be 100% and not sick. So yeah, this is I don't think it's like anything too serious. It's just annoying to have like this nagging cough thing come in. And I'm trying not to get into the coughing fits, which is what my roommate had. They were battling like this recurrent, persistent cough that would sometimes just turn into this like endless cough. And it was just like, no, I don't want that. So yeah, taking medication, lots of sleep, lots and lots of fluid. So much so that I'm like always up having to go to the bathroom again. But it's okay. You got to flush everything out of the system. So yeah, so that's the plan. Lots of soup, lots of hot liquids during the day, and lots of rest at night. So we're at the end of our time. But thanks, Nuka. I will think about your suggestion. I think I've had this come up before as like, should I have the occasional Twitch stream, which is just me reading poetry or talking about something, like step away from just doing TLD stuff and doing some other stuff. I've talked about with Prof. Neil's the possibility of doing some sort of a talk show, like around RPG stuff, and we just talk about different interesting things related to D&D and other role-playing games and game design and video games. So we might do something like that. I think like once this term is over and my schedule clears up a fair bit, then I can experiment with like different days doing different things. And then audiobooks too. I'd like yeah, if you could also check out if you want to hear some other things. Check out my SoundCloud. Logging in right now. So yeah, you can also find like me reading. Yeah, that's true. I probably should set that up, so a little command thing for that. But yeah, so there's also my SoundCloud where you can also find recordings of me reading some of these poems, as well as I have a reading of How the Grinch Stole Christmas, and a reading of Dylan Thomas's A Child's Christmas in Wales. So those are two longer pieces. And I've got things like recordings of poems from The Lost Country of Sight and poems from Babbage's Dream. So like there are 9 poems from Lost Country of Sight and 15 poems from Babbage's Dream. So there's a fair bit of represented, fair bit of poems that are represented there. So, but I haven't really added anything new in a while. So. But yeah, so maybe I'll look at that, see what I could do. What I could record and release. Like some people do albums, right? On whatchamacallit, Bandcamp. And poetry albums are just not things that sell, I'll be honest. It's like there's a lot of labor involved in putting together a spoken word album, and then it almost never sells. So I think like most of what I've recorded because I've wanted to share some of that performance, some of the reading aspect, the oral experience of the poem. But at the same time, it's meant to be a sampler as opposed to replacing the book. Because I would have to negotiate with the press to, free up, the rights to do the audiobook, because technically they own those rights as well. So, or they would say, yeah, do an audiobook, and they would help with the production of it. But so far, the 2 presses I work with, I don't think do audiobooks, so that's where we're at. Oh, on the Audible thing. Yeah. I've also, before I started recording all these other things, I kind of cut my teeth on learning how to do recording, audio recording on LibriVox. And so if you really hunt around on LibriVox, I'm actually on there in a couple recordings. Let's see if I can find. Yeah, so I've read for I did one poem. Oh, I did a few poems for section 30. This is, sorry, that was the Golden Treasury of Best Songs and Lyrical Pieces in English Language, published in like 18. It's a 19th century book, so it's like, you know, not in copyright. And I read for that like a 10-minute reading of like, I think 4 different poems. And then looks like I also read a short section. There was a poem called The Taxi by Amy Lowell, and someone did a project where they had multiple readers reading the same poem. And so I also read for that. It's a short poem. But so that is my little experiment with like getting into, yeah. So I don't know. There's also like, I wanted to do like some fantasy or sci-fi short stories as audio books. I don't know. Lots of little projects. If there's enough interest, you know, maybe I can get something like that going this summer. We'll see. But yeah, thanks for your encouragement. I do appreciate it. We should probably get going here. Figure out who we can go raid. And then I can get some sleep and hopefully wake up, I don't know, hopefully rested. Not sick. That's the goal. Not sick. Okay, so Nunia is up. Eilidon. Pickle weave. Okay, maybe we'll do Eilidon. Oh, maybe Eilidon's finishing up. Okay, so. Okay, maybe we're going to Nunia. Okay, I think we're visiting Nunia. Yeah, glad I could provide that service. Okay, so we're going to go raid Nunia, who's another TLD streamer, and I'll be back again on Thursday night for more TLD. Okay, see you all then.